For the past year, I've been doing the same workout every week, and it's been one of the biggest reasons I've been able to see my abs again at 46 and get my body fat down to 12%. It's low volume, high intensity, and for most exercises, you only need to do 2 sets, and it only takes 35 minutes. But I want to give you a word of warning. That sounds easy, but if you do it right, it might be one of the hardest workouts you do. I call it the 2X training method, and in this video, I want to show you why it's one of the best workouts to do, especially if you're trying to lose fat. And by the way, my name is Dan Go. I owned a gym for 11 years, sold that in 2018, and since then, I've been helping high-achieving entrepreneurs transform their health using the right protocols that fit their busy lives. So the 2X training protocol comes down to 4 rules. It's 2 sets per exercise, 3 minutes of rest in between these sets for compound movements, 2 minutes of rest for accessory movements, and we are pushing our sets as close to failure as possible. And most important, we want to hit each muscle group at least 2 times per week. That's it. Now, when I first started doing this, my brain was telling me that it wasn't enough, that I needed more volume and more exercises and more time. And I spent the first part of my training career believing that I needed to spend hours in the gym to get results. But after a year of testing this on myself, here's what happened. I hit personal records on all of my main lifts. My muscle definition improved noticeably, and the last DEXA scan showed that even when I was in a calorie deficit and I lost a lot of weight, I still gained 1.6 pounds of lean mass. But the most surprising thing to me wasn't the numbers, it was how I felt. Every time I got into the gym, it felt like I was fresh. My joints didn't ache, I didn't get any injuries, and because the workouts were brief but intense, I actually looked forward to training, which is something I hadn't felt in years. And when you're over 40, this actually matters more than people realize. Now, if you're probably wondering, hey, if I want to build muscle, don't I need to do a lot of sets at the gym and do a lot of volume to make that happen? But we're starting to see that it's not the amount of volume that matters, it's the mechanical tension, which is the main driver of hypertrophy. One meta-analysis on training volume found that the relationship between volume and muscle growth is logarithmic. And that is just a fancy schmancy way of saying that your gains come from the first few hard sets of an exercise, and after that, you're mostly just piling on fatigue. Another key insight that changed things for me was that when your volume is low, you can absolutely push every single set to failure. You're not pacing yourself because you know you have 5 sets to do. You literally only have 2 sets to create the stimulus for hypertrophy, and this is enough motivation to push harder. Another study done on muscle growth showed that doing heavy hard sets matters more than doing lots of easy sets. It also found that after a point, adding more sets gives you very little extra muscle, which is why 1-2 sets of really hard focused sets per exercise can still work great, especially if you're pushing the failure and getting stronger over time. And by the way, Jeff Nippard did a video where he ran a 100-day experiment where he cut his training volume in half, all the way down to 1-2 sets per exercise. And his results were that his physique looked harder and fuller, his strength kept on progressing, his joints and fatigue both improved. And his conclusion was that for most lifters, 1-2 sets all out per exercise can actually get you most of the gains as long as your effort and execution are extremely high. And lastly, this works especially well when you're doing a cut because doing low volume on a cut is often better because you have less recovery and energy, so fewer high-quality sets lets you keep the strength and muscle while avoiding the fatigue and burnout that comes with high volume. Now, the second part of this equation is where a lot of people training the old way are leaving results on the table, and it's training each muscle group at least twice per week. And when you train a muscle hard, your body kicks off muscle protein synthesis. You already know this. Now, this is the process that actually builds new tissue, but in trained lifters, this process only stays elevated for about 24 to 48 hours. So if you're doing a traditional bro split or you're hammering chest on Monday and you don't touch it again until the following Monday, you only get one growth window. And the other 5 or 6 days, the muscle is just sitting there, recovered and ready. It's not being challenged at all. But when you hit each muscle group twice per week, you open up 2 growth windows instead of 1. And because you're splitting your volume across 2 sessions, every set you do is higher quality. This means less junk reps, less form breakdown, less of that grinding fatigue where you're just going through the motion just to finish the workout. Think about it like eating protein. You wouldn't want to get all of your daily protein in one sitting and expect your body to use every single gram. You would want to spread it out, and the same principle applies to your training stimulus. And by the way, I created a free guide detailing this exact protocol and how to apply it to your body. I'm going to leave a link to it in the description and also in the first comment of this video. So let's get into the nuts and bolts and make this practical. So we have 3 training days, full body. Preferably, I like to use Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, but you can pick any 3 days as long as you have one rest day in between each workout. And the workouts are built around 7 core compound movements: the squat, hip hinge, vertical push, vertical pull, horizontal push, and unilateral lower body movements, and we will fill the rest with accessory movements. Now, for every exercise, we're going to have 2 working sets are going to go to around 6 to 10 reps with 3 minutes of rest in between, again, taking your sets as close to failure as possible. Now, here's how the progression works, and make sure that you listen up slowly on this one. If you hit 10 clean reps on a set, on the next session, you're going to add more weight, usually around 5% more. If you're still stuck at around 6 or 7 and you haven't been able to hit 10, you're going to keep the weight down and just chase more reps. So let's just say we're doing the squat, and for simplicity, we're going to say we did 200 pounds on a squat. If you're only able to hit 7 reps on that squat, then the next session that you go into, you're going to be doing the same weight. Now, let's just say you did hit 10 reps on that squat in the next session. For the next session after that, you're going to be adding 2.5 to 5% of weight to that squat. And this is just simplified progressive overload. There's no spreadsheets involved. You just have to show up and try to beat what you did the last time in weight or reps. Now, the important part for each line is that it is a specific movement pattern, not a specific exercise. You want to plug in whatever exercise feels best for your body, your joints, and your structure. And you have to understand that different exercises correlate with different body types. And I did a separate video right here that breaks down how exactly to find the right exercises for your body type. And this is actually going to be linked in the description, and it's a perfect companion piece to what you just learned over here. Now, I want to be clear that this workout is completely gender neutral. Men and women and anyone who identifies as anything else can use this to build muscle, boost metabolism, and perform at a higher level regardless of age. Now, from my experience, this works especially well for people over the age of 35 who want to lose weight and also build muscle without feeling wrecked for days afterwards. Especially if you're time crunched and you prefer your workouts to be done in the least amount of time possible, this is the perfect workout to make it happen. Now, I remember going to the gym one day and I saw a 60-year-old and he was lifting a good amount of weight on the bench press. It was definitely over 2 plates, and I couldn't help but go up to him because this guy looked jacked for 60. And I asked him, like, how exactly did you get so strong and fit? And he told me, every time I go to the gym, I just try to add more weights or more reps. And I've been doing that for the past 40 years. And I have to warn you that this workout is not a hack. It's not a shortcut. It's not a workout that you're just going to do for 6 weeks and then just like hop onto the next program. The value in doing a workout like this is in the consistency and intensity. So imagine you just did this workout for 6 weeks, then you jumped onto another one and you just started all over again. Now, imagine if you did this for a full year, hitting each muscle as intensely as possible, trying to get stronger each and every time you hit the gym. How much farther would you be when it comes to gaining muscle? I'm going to assume much farther.
It's funny because it's true.
And after a year of doing this, I'm fully convinced that you can do half the work in the gym and still get better results. And it's not because you're lazy, it's because you're smart enough to put the effort where it actually counts. Now, if you want the free guide on this 2X protocol, click the link in the description or the link in the first comment. Also, you might be wondering, okay, what exercises should I plug into this workout? Well, I did a video on that about finding the best exercises for your body type. You can check it out right over here. See you on the video.